In this video, I'm going to share with you how you can tap into the ideal version of you now. We don't get in life what we want or even what we deserve, but we will always get a reflection of who we are being. So if you want to make changes in your outside world, you're going to have to change who you are inside. This video is going to help you understand how to avoid common mistakes that people make when they try to do this, as well as what practical steps that you can take to start tapping in to that ideal version of you now, so that you can start seeing the changes in your circumstances reflected back to you. So let's get started. In this first part, I want to visually show you the most common mistake that I see people making when they attempt to tap into that ideal version of themselves to start to shift their energy. I'm going to use this box to represent your ideal reality. Now I'm going to use this plate as well as this mug to represent different states of being. Remember, you don't get what you want, you don't get what you deserve, but you get a reflection of who you're being. So this plate is going to represent your current reality. Again, there's nothing better or worse about these two things. They're simply different energies, and that energy is represented by a different shape. So you can clearly see that your current energy, you cannot access your desired reality. Now your future self, which is represented by the mug, it fits right in there. So whatever it is that you want to experience, if it's about an amount of money, if it's about a secure, loving relationship, that happens inside this reality. And the only way you can access it is with this state of being. So right now you could be this plate and you're like, okay, Abby, but how in the world am I going to tap into feelings? How can I know what it feels like to have an amount of money or have that abundance if all I've experienced is lack? And if you go off of Neville Goddard's principles, one of his main teachings, the secret is the feeling. But how in the world can I feel that secure, loving relationship if all I have is emotionally unavailable people in my life and everything I've ever experienced is all about rejection or abandonment? Well, this is the biggest mistake that most people make. And this is critical for you to start to be able to tap into that ideal version of you. Most people are in their state of being now. This represents your thoughts, this represents your feelings, this represents your beliefs, your attitudes, behaviors, your habits throughout the day. So you're thinking of what's happening here, the circumstances of what you'd experience in this desired reality, but you're thinking of it from the same energetic state as you are in now. So you're outside here trying to imagine what it would be like to be in here and feeling potentially, if you're like me, I felt like, well, what's the point? I feel even worse trying to imagine that because it feels so separate from where I am now. Now, to tap into your ideal version of you, it's not about trying to pretend like you're in this box. The biggest thing you can start to do is realize that this state of being does not fit. You have to shift to the new energy. So one of the main secrets to tap into the ideal version of you right now is to focus on who you will be. Not what this person will experience, but who you will be. What are the thoughts? What are the feelings? What beliefs does this ideal version of you have? What attitudes? How do they interpret your current situation? Because this person, the way that they would see a situation, the way that they would handle stress, the way that they would perceive of different situations that would come into their life would be radically different from this person. If it's about a relationship and this person has a lot of abandonment, then if somebody doesn't call them, if somebody doesn't show up, if they haven't called, then this person's probably going to assume that it's because of them. This person, this state of being, is going to realize that they are whole and complete. That how other people react and they respond, it's not because of what they lack, certainly not because of their not being worthy. So starting to understand, how can you shift from your current reality to this state of being? So realize it's not about trying to feel this situation, these circumstances. It's about going from this state of being to this state of being. So let me show you now how you can start to cultivate this state of being. Now, these are 3 different steps that you can start implementing in your life right now so that you can start to tap into that state of being that would then experience those circumstances that you have, that vision that you have for your life. And you deserve these things. So first, I would encourage you to start getting clear on the end emotions. That's because that whatever it is you're wanting, if you're wanting an amount of abundance, right? If it's money, you don't want the money, you want the end emotion that you've attached with having that money. So maybe it's about freedom. Maybe for you, having abundance is about feeling secure, a sense of safety. But if you can get clear on what that end emotion is, it can help you start tapping in to that state of being. And for a relationship, it's not necessarily that you just want another human being there. Maybe that in relationship for you, there's an attachment that if you can have that relationship, then maybe there's a consistency that you're looking for to meet a need within yourself. None of these are bad or wrong, but you want to get clear on what end emotion that you perceive that you have attached to that experience. Because the more you get clear on that, the more you can actually start opening up yourself to receiving those different experiences, maybe at a lower level, so that you can start to see that you're not separate from it. To give you an example, one end emotion that is pretty prevalent in my life is satisfaction. When I go to work out, there's a sense of satisfaction. When I create something with my hands, there's a sense of satisfaction. When I'm able to create a video where it connects with somebody and they give me that feedback, that gives me a sense of satisfaction. So when I could start to get more clear on what really drives me, what I'm really looking for in my life, it helped me to start detaching from how it has to come into my life and started to help me see how I was experiencing things already. Now, this isn't to say, okay, well, you've got just a little bit, you should be happy. No, this is to help to remove that idea that it's separate from you so that you can build the momentum that you start to see yourself as already having it, even in the smallest amount, because that will help you see it's not separate from you and you can build that up. Build your cup. You will not be able to receive something that you don't feel you deserve, which is going to bring us into our next point. Define who is it that you need to be to receive these end emotions. If you have a lot of shame or guilt that you grew up in, starting to detach and cut the cord of other people's opinion of you, their expectations or judgments of you, you've got to regain your inner authority in order to be able to shift your state of being or your self-concept or your self-image. When you hold the rights to your inner authority, that's when you have the power to make changes. If you continue to find yourself stuck, if you really want that outside experience to come in to give you proof that you deserve to change or that you are worthy of it, you're still going to be stuck in that other state of being, and you're going to be looking outside yourself for that confirmation that you have that permission. So one of the things is starting to understand, okay, what is it that I really believe about myself right now? This can be uncomfortable, but you want to dive into it so that you can start cutting the cords of the past. Because if how you view yourself has been formed by how you were treated from your early on caregivers, which is totally common. If there were traumatic experiences, which basically you felt like you couldn't be your true self in the world, that if you said what you wanted to say, you'd be outcast, you wouldn't belong, you'd be, sent out and you would be all alone. Maybe when you excelled and you did a really good job, you were seen as selfish, that you were making other people feel bad by being in your brightest light. Now, if you are still living through that early on way that you were told to be, which is totally reasonable because that caretaker was the one keeping you physically alive. But if you can start to see, I no longer have to rely on other people to keep me safe. I can keep me safe. You can start to gain back your authority. You can start to see that it's safe for you to be your highest expression. That is the safest thing you can do. But if you're still relying on other people's validation, their attention, their approval of you, then you don't have your authority. So really start to define what is that new state of being? What What beliefs would you have to have in order to receive that safety, in order for you to have a full cup of satisfaction or of freedom? Because if you feel like you don't deserve freedom, you'll continue to unconsciously reject it and attract people who won't be able to fill your cup. So the more you start to understand and shift this subconscious will always overrule your conscious desire, not because you're not worthy, not because you don't deserve it, but because that subconscious basically is trying to keep you alive. Unless you update it to that ideal state of being, then you'll continually self-sabotage, you'll continue to attract people, send out the electromagnetic signature to the universe that's going to then reflect back to you the same unconscious lower level views of yourself. So defining what that state of being is, who do you need to be, what thoughts, what feelings, what beliefs, what action in the world do you need to take? There's this idea that there's no action you need to take. Well, if you look at the etymology of effortless, it has nothing to do with action. It has to do with strenuous, or kind of thinking about pushing a rock up a hill. It's a lot of friction, a lot of resistance. Taking action to express who you are and how you feel and being that way in the world doesn't mean that there's no action involved. It simply means that it's the path of least resistance. It's not going to feel grueling. It's not going to feel just like grinding gears and just putting you all out and leaving you exhausted. So the more you start to define the state of being and get really clear and cut those energy cords, you're going to be able to tap into that energy now. Now, the last thing that you can do to start tapping into your future self now is ABC. Start moment to moment. If somebody doesn't call you, right? This was my big thing. Somebody doesn't call me, they're not texting me, I start to panic, I start to freak out, I start to stay in that old state of being. I've got to be aware of who I am being when situations come up that start triggering me. I've got to be aware of what story I'm telling. I've got to breathe and stay in the present moment, calm my nervous system so that it doesn't respond to 19 whatever, but I am aware and in my adult mind, and then I need to make a new choice. Rather than self-abandoning myself and getting fixated on how this other person may or may not see me, I've got to stay with myself and take care of myself in that moment. And this goes back to knowing what end emotions you're wanting to experience in that new you, and start to tap into them now. Start to learn how to take care of yourself, what you need in that moment. Start to step out, using your willpower and your conscious mind to step out of that old program. The awareness makes you aware of the program you were in, and rather than trying to fight it out and break through and spend all that energy still stuck in the old state of being, you use your awareness to breathe, step out, and energetically, you're going to be that future you now, moment to moment to moment, and eventually this will be that default you. And the more that inner energy shifts, the more your outside circumstances will shift to reflect that inner change. If you want a little bit more help on how you can really start to see that new desired reality, this next video right here is going to break it down for you. Thank you for watching. I love y'all. If you like this video, click like. If you haven't done so already, join the community, and I will see you on the next one.